What's up, YouTubers and cinephiles? John Ricky here, and for another edition of Nerd With Me Reviews. Now, today's review is about the new Edgar Wright film, Baby Driver, starring Jamie Foxx, Ansel Elgort, Kevin Spacey, John Hamm, Lily James from Cinderella. Pretty impeccable cast. Now, Edgar Wright is a very unique director. If you've heard of Edgar Wright, you've heard of Simon Pegg, or rather vice versa. Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, they basically almost filmed most of their movies together and springboarded off each other. So, you heard of Shaun of the Dead, Simon Pegg, Hot Fuzz, The World's End, so on and so forth. On top of that, you have Edgar Wright has movies Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and now Baby Driver. Edgar Wright is like I guess you can say he's kind of like his own British version, more comedic version of Quentin Tarantino. He has this specific style that is quintessentially Edgar Wright, and particularly his editing style, which is very kinetic, fluid, and just all in all exciting, and works with the story for most parts, and actually enhances the comedy or the drama or what he's trying to portray in the moment. Now, I'm a fan of Edgar Wright, especially his style of editing and so on and so forth. It's very signature for him. I mean, to me, his best movies are Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Yeah, a lot of people were like, oh, Shaun of the Dead and everything like that. I was like, alright, it was a decent movie, but I think I heard too much about it. Kind of like how if you come on Sixth Sense or something like that, after hearing like, oh my god, it's so amazing, then you watch it, it's like, was it really amazing? One of those, like, I felt it was a little bit overrated, at least Shaun of the Dead. But I have still liked his movies since. May not have thought of it as highly as everybody is. But that brings me to my point of, before seeing this, all I'm hearing is, this is the most original movie of the year. Oh, high praise. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 90%. I watched this movie and I'm like, it's not really that original, to be honest. And I'll get to that later. Now, the story is about a young kid, I don't know, maybe not that young, maybe about 23 years old or whatnot. He's known as Baby throughout the majority of the movie. And he's indebted to Kevin Spacey's character, Doc, who has him do various bank jobs. He's the driver, hence the title. He's about to be square with him. He owes him money or owes him for whatever has happened in the past, which they do delve into decently enough in this film. But basically, driver, Baby, wants to get out. The thing that makes it a little bit different is the fact that Baby is not your usual driver, or at least he has this personal quirk where he had an accident as a child and he always has his drum, so he's always listening to music. And I'll tell you, this movie makes a great use of music, and not just like everything that comes out today, like nice, solid, good music, references to Queen, Led Zeppelin, a whole bunch of other classic joints that you don't see that type of music today, and it's sad that it's missed. And boy, this music is so prevalent. The soundtrack to this film is amazing. I'm so glad that they brought that back, and just good music that works well. Edgar Wright even puts in this editing trick with an action sequence that what's happening in the song really corresponds with what's happening in the scene, which works beautifully, and that's one of the hallmarks of Edgar Wright. Like, he does something that nobody has thought of in a while or ever, and makes it work. But I digress again. So let's reiterate. Basically, Baby Driver owes Doc money. He's been doing these jobs for X amount of years. He has a quirk with he can't really hear well. Has like a buzzing in his ear all the time, so he drowns it out with music. He lives with a deaf foster parent that he takes care of himself. So on and so forth. He meets a girl, falls in love with her, and he wants to get out. That's the gist. And that's where I differ from everyone saying it's the most original movie of 2017, for the fact that, well, I've seen that storyline before 100 times over. But that's not taken away from this. This is a solid movie. And with that, my God, the players in this film are exceptional. I mean, you have Kevin Spacey, Oscar winner for Usual Suspects, great proprietor of bringing emotion to a character without using facial expressions. Just with the cadence of his voice, you can feel the emotion. He is the master of that. Jamie Foxx, I mean, it's Jamie Foxx. He is amazing. He's a chameleon. And he plays this crazy ass, stick up man. It's just a wild card, right? But he's not the only wild card. Actually, the biggest wild card in the movie is this guy played by Jon Hamm, who plays Buddy, along with his wife, girlfriend, mistress, not really alluded to, but obviously they're very in love. Darling, played by Eliza Gonzalez, who was best known for playing Santanico Pandemonium on the From Dusk Till Dawn series, with Robert Rodriguez as new champ. All those characters are great. And then you have Ansel Elgort as the title character, Baby, and Lily James as his love interest, Deborah. Elgort has risen to fame with that Shailene Woodley film Fault in Our Stars, and Lily James has become pretty prominent in the last year or so, hot off the heels of that Cinderella adaptation by Kenneth Branagh. Now, these two are the centerpieces of the film, but unfortunately, at least in my opinion, they're actually the weakest part of the film. First, I'm going to say 20-25 minutes of the movie is Elgort's character being on these jobs. He does like about 2 jobs. Then eventually he meets Lily James' character, Deborah. Unfortunately, when they get together, I kind of started losing interest. And it's mainly because Elgort's character is not really that interesting. He doesn't really say much. He doesn't really emote a lot. And in his relationship with Deborah, just kind of feel thrown in there a little bit. It's like it's very generic, unfortunately. Which is hard to say because, I mean, Edgar Wright is a good writer. He made very good characters outside of Baby and Deborah's character with Jamie Foxx, Jon Hamm, and Kevin Spacey and all of them. I was actually more intrigued by those characters, including Eliza Gonzalez. All those characters are very intriguing. But whenever we focus on Baby and Deborah, I was kind of like, well, that's kind of typical. And it's kind of sad, I mean, with Edgar Wright, because he usually makes very interesting characters. Yes, they're stoic, but they're still very interesting. Like Nicholas Angel from Hot Fuzz was an intriguing, stoic character that is very comedic. Scott Pilgrim, well, I mean, even though it's from like another existing comic or whatnot, is like a very interesting character. He's so dumb and so on and so forth. But with Baby, he was kind of just there, and Baby is the car for the audience to follow into this world. And yeah, he tries to make them have personality by having them dance and feeling in love, but it's really just like so minuscule. And I was literally just sitting there thinking, like, what's Jamie Foxx and them doing? What's Jon Hamm and them doing? What's Kevin Spacey doing? And that was made painfully apparent when, of course, Baby gets pulled back in and he sees Kevin Spacey again, and there's a scene between him and Kevin Spacey alone. And Spacey's really just acting rings around him. It was just very obvious in my opinion. But yeah, that's my thing with that. But Edgar Wright is a very competent director. He makes some very cool editing choices, some very cool scenes, but in this film it's a little bit too far and in between. Now, he did max out on the action portion of this film. There are some very good action sequences in this film, and it seems like he's been building up to it ever since Shaun of the Dead, and it's just been ramping up. And this one was pretty good. And he's usually a comedy director and more emphasis on comedy, but he really like toned that down for a more action-oriented story in this one, and it actually works pretty well. But I'll say this, some of the action scenes are not as impressive as the World's End bathroom scene. Yeah, check it out. That's pretty awesome. It was intense and everything else, but it was really good. So on that note, let's recap. Now, the action was pretty solid. The supporting characters were interesting, and I kind of wish I would have seen more of them than the main characters that we had to follow. Basically, to me, this film felt like a more up-tempo millennial version of the Ryan Gosling movie Drive. And if you haven't checked out that movie, I mean, you should. It's a classic. Yeah, it's a little bit slower, but this one, it has like very kinetic energy, which I expect from Edgar Wright. So anyway, good action, some decent comedic moments, and hell of a cast. I give Baby Driver a...
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yep, some things I like. Most of it, it was like, it was okay. But it's still worth seeing in theaters. I'd really say see it at matinee prices. But anyway, everyone, what do you think of Edgar Wright? What do you think of Baby Driver? Let me know. Comment, like, subscribe to my channel, Nerd With Me. And I'll talk to you next time, everybody. Peace.